Hello, my name is Brittany D. I am a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. My divine purpose is to assist in the expansion of the collective consciousness and to help you become more connected with the divine. This is a space to remember all that you truly are and ignite the possibilities of your highest potential. Oh, hello, and thank you so much for being present with us in this now moment. I am so happy. Becca is who I have on here today, and Becca and I have been trying to align a podcast for you guys, and we keep surrendering to the flow, and it's aligned, and I'm so happy about it. I am so grateful to have you here, Becca. She is a spiritual business coach, and I just adore her. I love her work. I love following her. Her energy is amazing. And she just has so much to give to this world and to share with us. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast so you can share it all with us here in this container. Thank you so, so much for being here, Becca.
Thank you for allowing me into this space. And hello, beautiful souls, for listening and showing up. I'm excited to see where this takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. So today, Becca and I asked her if we could talk about abundance and money and energy exchange and, financial freedom and just liberating yourself from the shackles of fear and scarcity and lack, man. And I know that this is something that Becca has made a conscious effort of working through. And she was actually, I didn't even think, this just popped in my head, Becca. You were, how along the journey, you kind of get these little gems, along the way. Mm-hmm. And whenever I was interested in this was before I really invested in my business. This was, oh my gosh, years ago when we first connected. And I reached out to her about doing business coaching, and I got too scared to invest in myself. But on the call, when we did a consultation call, I said something about money. And then you said, but if it brings them this much value and that changes their life for the rest of their life, then what's wrong with this level of exchange? That's something that they gain for the rest of their lives. And I was just like, oh my God, I've never thought about it that way.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. It's like a reminder for myself.
Yes, exactly. And there was just little moments in time where the scarcity would creep up or the lack would creep up or whatever it may be. And then I would kind of remember that moment of no, this is about value. This isn't about, and I learned it more deeply, as I did, programs and invested in coaches. And you really have to invest in it in order to really, you can get gems along the way, but in order to take a really big leap in it, and this is how I see it, kind of, and I'd love to hear your perspective. But with money specifically, you kind of have to have a little bit of sweat in the game. You have to invest a little and and risk some in order for that to be something that you heal. It's just kind of the only way. It's like an initiation or something.
How is that? That's my experience as well. I'm looking at all of my friends around me and leaders and entrepreneurs, those carrying the abundance, the container frequency. It takes a level of initiation and surrender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a surrender. It's a letting go of the thing. It's like a romantic relationship, or if you're seeking a love, clenching onto and holding on to that so tight is actually pushing it away. So it's when you let go of it, it starts to unfold. And it's the same thing with money. When you let go of a big chunk of money with seeking that I'm going to have more freedom around money, it just happens. It's part of the liberation process.
I love talking to you because I feel like a little kid and I always get so excited on the conversations. You got me all riled up and excited.
I just went to a festival this weekend, and this chick at the very end, she's like on Sunday, right at the end, she came up to me and she's like, dude, I've been observing you all weekend and you're so playful and childish and I love it. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad.
Yes. I feel that from you, your energy really activates that in others. It's so fun. And like, that's a fun thing. We can talk about money and abundance and be an inner child still at the same time.
Yes. It's so important. It's so important. Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, you know, I feel like there's something that kind of sparks it in us, like something that's kind of like, okay, I have got to figure out this like scarcity, money, lacking thing. Like I'm sick of being in this cycle of always not having enough, you know? So just tell us a little bit about your journey or maybe some experiences that you've had.
Well, where to begin with that? I'm going to start with a little bit of my unconscious work around this healing process. And then when I became aware and consciously, you know, went through to see the shadows and the limitations with my mind and my relationship to money. So, yeah, my journey, my spirit soul called me to go into software sales and sales specifically. And that was starting about 6 years ago, I want to say. And so I learned a lot about my relationship with money and learned about new belief systems I could carry and embody when I was in sales. And that then carried into when I started getting into spirituality, realizing, wow, it's just really coming down to beliefs. And so I was one as a child and grew up, and many of us, I'm sure, can relate, that my family didn't carry a lot of wealth, and money was talked about in fear. Like when there was discussions of money, it was scarcity and concern and worry and stress. Yeah. And so anytime I heard the word money, my body carried that and embodied the scarcity fear reaction. And so, of course, my soul would be like, okay, let's heal this and go directly into one of the careers that's most illuminating our relationship with money, which is sales. And so I did a lot of work, and I'm really grateful for my past, because in the career I was in software sales, we did intensive training with our mind, our belief systems, and our own limiting beliefs around money. And if, you know, I was selling software that the minimum offering was $20,000, upwards of $250,000 deals that I put on the table in front of a CEO. And so I was connecting my own personal lack of value to the product I was selling. And so to think like I could see the results of this software I was selling and was so like, yeah, this is something that's a value, but my personal intrinsic value was not matching with the product I was selling. So I had to go through a lot of beliefs and inner work in order to change my relationship to money. So fast forward, I went from, within 2 years, earning $50,000 in a career in sales to earning $350,000.
Oh, wow. At the same place?
Yeah. Well, at a different place. Well, actually, yeah. The starting salary was $50,000. And then through commissions and whatnot, in 2 years.
Wow. Dude, it just shows like how much of it is all, dude, it's so your inner world, man. Like, and that's such a great story, because like I was saying before we hopped on this call, I love to teach abundance in the way that, because there's a lot of money programs and there's a lot of courses and things about abundance and money that teach it specifically for entrepreneurs, for people that have online businesses and that kind of thing. And I'm like, let's not limit this. This is your divine birthright, guys. This is not limited. Yeah. You can be in any job. You can be in anything. And when you break through yourself, it's reflected. I actually was just reading Marianne Williamson's Law of Divine Compensation this morning. And it said that whenever I don't remember the exact quote, but basically whenever you have that breakthrough internally, the universe starts to work it externally to be reflected. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that doesn't have to do with having an online business. That doesn't have to do with coaching or blah, 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 blah. That has to do with your own internal system. No matter what job you're in, you can have major level ups just by shifting your own inner world, and externally it'll be reflected. And so that's great coming from the corporate ladder for that to be reflected in just 2 years,
Yes. Yeah. And there was a lot of internal. And then interesting, when I went into starting my own business, then, it was another layer of it, because now it's like, oh, wow, now you are your product you're selling. And then it was like all over again, let's go into these abundance blocks. And yeah, but it can be, where attention goes, energy flows. So, if we are looking at abundance, of course, if we look at abundance as nature, there's an abundance of many different things. And same with our life. It's different things we are relating to. So right now we're talking about the relation to energy. And in this aspect, energy being money. And if we're wanting to tap into abundance, we can desire an abundance of friendships. We can desire an abundance of deep connections. We can have abundance of spiritual experiences. We can have an abundance of food, of healthy, organic goods in our kitchen. It can be replaced with anything. Oh my gosh. In this situation, we're talking about,
yes.
just money.
I'm over here just nodding my head. I'm like, keep ripping it off, girl. Because it's literally, it can touch everything as soon as you allow it to.
Yes. Yeah. And that's fun with expanding the container of abundance, is not only expanding and like, okay, how much money and wealth do I want to accumulate and allow in, but what types of experience do I want to experience with this abundance?
Yeah, the main reason why I focus around in my course, in the Abundance Code course, which I'm actually doing on a sale on it right now while we're presently speaking. But the reason why I focus on money in that course as your healing portal, your bridge to abundance in all aspects of your life, is because, in my belief, is that is where all of our programming lies. Primarily, most of our traumas rely around money. Most of the times we were told no is around money. Most of the times we didn't have enough was around money. Most of the times we were told we can't do that or we can't go there, and it was because of money. Like, all of the traumas of that pull us into fear, scarcity, lack, and away from abundance and prosperity or primarily revolve around money. At least that's what I have found in myself and with clients.
Yeah.
And so when you heal the money traumas, of course, there's going to be other little things, like little beliefs, like, like you just said, as soon as I started my own business, there's other beliefs that pop, and it's the same thing with me. Like, with relationships, now I want to have an abundance of true spiritual connections and soul family and let go of the ones that are just there for comfort and that kind of a thing. Like, those beliefs will present themselves and you have to work through those. But the main like jump over into the abundance pool is through your money traumas.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I focus so much on money, but it is the other side of the bridge, the pot of the gold on the other side of the rainbow is all abundance in all forms and can touch all things. And you just know it in your being. You're just like, no, I can have this because abundance. Like,
yes.
Because abundance.
Yes, it's so amazing you're offering this as a program. I feel collectively right now, this is one of the biggest shifts we are going through is with our relationship to money. It's no longer something, and I felt it in my own self, was resistance and not wanting to look at the scary monster in the closet, aka money.
Yes.
But that's a limitation and it's disempowering. And once we free ourselves and see and within ourselves our abundance, then that's reflected out to us, like you said. And something that is coming up that I was feeling called to share is something my friend was just sharing with me the other day. And kind of going back to value, how you started out this podcast sharing like my perception of like, well, when you offer, like a big amount of value, you can get, a big amount in exchange for that. And value can definitely be related to service. Mm-hmm. And my friend had asked me, because she's very quantum, like 5D living her whole life. And she's really anchored in, she's in her 50s, and she's lived and embodied this different way of living outside of the matrix for quite some time. So we were talking about money, and she was like, okay, if you literally took out all the constructs of living, okay, let's like erase everything around your surroundings, erase your house, erase your car, erase your job, erase all the structures and it's just you, and you can do anything with your day, what are you doing? And, at first my mind's like, oh, I want to relax and meditate and be in a hammock all day. And I'm like, I'm going to get bored. My intrinsic motivation is to serve.
Yeah. That's the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, I'm trying to serve.
Yeah, like our hearts want to serve and experience itself, right? That I am presence.
Yes.
And so when we go and take out all of the other shoulds and coulds and what we are expected to do, we want to serve. So when we look at our value being of service, then when we lead with that, the abundance comes.
Thank you for that. Seriously. Like how I gave you a reminder earlier, I'm like, oh yeah, needed that one right now.
And I'm sure you guys listening are like, yep.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. And yeah, it's, another way, if anyone's not completely understanding what we're saying, another way, a very simple way that my mom explains this, because she's all about, she has been trying, how like there's like the close people in your life that are like trying to teach you some like real wisdom, but you're like, nah, you're my mom. Like, I'm not listening to you, She's been trying to teach me abundance for like a long time. And so she works in technology, right? And she told me this story. This is her way of trying to teach me this, right? Stories are always a great way to teach. And she said that, there was this UPS. She works in the technology industry, and there was this UPS site that the entire system, like the main, like we'll just say like the motherboard of the computer, the main system of this UPS plant, there was a piece in it that had like broken, like it something in the main like motherboard of the plant had broken, and like the whole thing was shut down, and it was shut down for hours. And the UPS packages were getting backed up, and like everyone's like, what the fuck? And like no one knew what to do. And so then they called in like their regular tech guy or whatever, who's the basic like, I don't know, $60 to $80 an hour or whatever it may be. And so he's playing with it, and he's playing with it for hours, and he's trying to figure it out, and he can't get it. And that ends up costing them like, like let's say a few $100, right? Because he's been tossing with it for hours and he can't bring that value of fixing it to the table. So then they call in some like expertise guy, right? He's $300 an hour. And my mom is like, listen, if you want it fixed, like you got to call the right guy. Comes in, literally fixes it within 5 minutes. Okay. And walks away making $300 for that one service call where he was there for 5 minutes. And the manager that witnessed this wasn't really involved. It was just someone that was just standing around and witnessing this, was just like, what the hell? Like, how can you pay like $300? He was only here for 5 minutes and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And my mom looked at him and was like, do you know the value that this man just brought to this whole plant is way more than $300. Like, we are more than happy to pay him $300 to have replaced that piece that they couldn't figure out needed to be replaced. And the whole plant went back up. UPS was running again. They're getting all their orders. They were backed up on, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like it was her way of trying to be like, it doesn't matter if you're on the phone with them for 1 hour or if you're on the phone with them for 5 minutes. If they got that gem that they needed, then that's what matters.
Yes.
You don't stop with the time thing. Like, she was trying to get me to like let go of the time thing. She's like, it's not a time thing. It's a value thing. If this is what he brought to the table, then absolutely, yes, he is like to her. She's like, we would have paid him $900 for 5 minutes. Like we're getting backed up with thousands and thousands of dollars of orders, shipping and stuff. Like, it's just, we're so trained by this system. And in my opinion, and I'm sure that yours is probably similar, maybe I'm assuming that, but it's a system of slavery. In this system of slavery, that's why it's done by the hour. not by what you're actually bringing to the table, what your value is, what your service is, because then they can slave you and make your worth smaller and smaller and smaller if it's all calculated by time. And so when you break out of that out of the time matrix, and it's not about the time that I'm serving, it's about the value that I'm bringing to the table. I'm coming here for 5 minutes and replacing that one little missing piece that's going to make your whole plant go up and running again. That I don't get paid. Like, if you divide that 5 minutes, $300, and divide that, like, why would he come all the way out there for 5 minutes worth of work? No, absolutely not. And so it's when you break yourself out of that and you move into value and knowing the power of your value and the knowledge that you have and the things that you have. And especially, I think, you know, especially for, I feel like people in the corporate area and whatnot, doing things that aren't actually fitting to them just because the pay or whatever is worth it. Like, it's not actually what they're good at. It's not actually what they do bring to the world. You know what I mean?
Yes, this is like so aligned to all of the thoughts. I've talked to many friends as well about this, and change makers, new earth investors, entrepreneurs, about these concepts. It's like, we're trying to place restrictions, limitations based on time and input and output versus value. What are we bringing? Service. How are we serving? And this, like, you know, linear way of looking at an exchange as well.
What did you say? A what way of looking?
Linear.
Oh, a linear. Yeah, exactly. Got to pull out to the multi-dimensionality. Like, this is not a straight road. Yeah,
it's like there is infinite ways that one transaction can serve outside of time, space, reality, right? Like, okay, so Brittany pays me for coaching for XYZ amount of money. And then what happens is, oh, wow, she paid $4,000. So she's expecting this, and this delivery. I'm going to give her a business strategy. I'm going to give her a mastermind container. I'm going to give her Telegram support, group masterminds for a year. And then it's like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to receive. But then what she receives is total freedom, abundance, bliss, more orgasms, more abundance, traveling around the world, freedom-based lifestyle, and all of these other things. But because we put it a box, okay, you give me this money and I in return give you XYZ, then we limit what's possible for us to receive in that container.
Yes. This just happened to me. So this is such a great reflection. This just happened to me. I just made a video actually about a little bit about it, what happened with a client. But I had this container basically, and when I got into my accident, I wasn't able to, you know, whenever you're literally crippled and injured, like, your energy is not as on point as like how I am right now, like in total powerhouse mode, you know? And I still made sure I showed up for everything that was on that list of what you get when you sign up for this program. I made sure to complete everything. Or otherwise, I know that Spirit would, if I wasn't able to complete what I had like come, you know, to the table, like I said that I was going to be bringing to the table, I'm sure Spirit would have pulled me away and been like, you know, pause the program or whatever you need to do, focus on your healing. But I was very, very clearly guided to keep trucking forward, keep moving forward. It's fine. Just make sure that you get everything done that you were, you know, you agreed to. And there was one woman in the container that was very focused on that lack of energy that I didn't have anymore. Very focused on the lack. And I didn't even realize that that's what it was until we're just talking right now. It was just that lack of abundance. Like, she was focused on the lack and not all of the, like, everyone else. And I don't mean it in a mean way. Her and I just don't align, and we've disconnected now. And that's perfectly fine. That's like, okay. And we both just have gone our separate ways, and that's totally fine. But everyone else is gaining so much wisdom from my accident, because I'm sharing like what I'm going through and my accident and all of this wisdom that's coming through, all these downloads. And like, I mean, whenever you're in darkness, like, it's a potent time. Like, you can get a lot from that, you know? And it was like, it was like the majority of the group, they're all just absorbing like all of this, even though it wasn't the wisdom and knowledge they thought they were getting in going to this container, they were still absorbing it. But there was a focus with this other client that was like, well, it's not this. And I'm like, I know that my energy, like, I'm not powerful right now. I understand that I'm vulnerable. I'm raw. I'm crying. I'm, messy. And I know that that's not what you expect. It wasn't what I expected either. Like, I couldn't have planned getting into one of the worst wrecks of my entire life. But like you said, you either have the option to take and get so much out of those bliss codes and that abundance and that freedom and that liberation. And I mean, they got so much out of it. And there was so much friction between her. Like, it was just not, and I didn't even realize it was the focus on the lack. It was the focus on the lack. And it didn't even click until just now. Like, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I've been getting little clicks along the way, but like, that's really what it was. Because when you're in abundance consciousness, you're like, oh my gosh, there's literally gold fucking coins flying in from this way. Why am I focused on this one thing? Because I'm attached to what I thought that outcome was going to be, but there's literally golden coins pouring over here. Just turn this way.
Oh, this like brings up so many other like things I want to jump into, and two things on that really come up, and let's see if we'll touch on them. The one thing that I went through, another layer of like this last few months, going into my ego deeply in my mind and seeing that my ego and my beliefs were limiting me from abundance. Mm-hmm. And so I'll touch on that. The other thing real briefly, another thing that my friend that I mentioned earlier about, what money is when we take it out of the equation, just we desire to have service and give service. The other thing she reminded us of is, like, when you said like gold coin just flying out and there's just an infinite amount of abundance, is she said, think about the artificial, she calls it the labeling of, there's the artificial laws, the matrix, and the natural laws, nature. And when we look at nature, it's always providing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It just is, because that's the universe.
Yes.
And then we look at the artificial world of the economy and money, and right now we're in a crash. What is a crash? It means people are in a fear and they're holding on to their money. But you ask yourself, okay, but there's still money floating around and money's being printed. So the money is abundant. Mm-hmm. It's there, but it's the belief and limitation that it's going to run out. Mm. But if you look at what market is driven by is resources, right? Food, we're transferring oil and bananas and like common goods, flour. Does the grain ever just stop growing? Does the corn ever stop growing because it's like, oh, actually I'm going to take a break because the stock market's crashing? No, it keeps growing.
And it doesn't ever question if it's going to have enough to continue to grow.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a whole module about this topic, specifically about the ecosystem and the trees and the, like, literally everything in nature. And I love that, the artificial law and the natural law. Like, I love that explanation, the way of saying that, because if you step back and look at everything, there is nothing in our natural system that is questioning if they're going to have enough, that is not sure if it's deserving of having enough. And most of the time they only, and I'd be curious I want to get into what you were talking about, your second thing, the beliefs thing, but I'd be curious to know what kind of your perspective is as far as needs. Like they don't typically, what I see in nature is that they don't usually take more than that they need. Like they'll take an abundance, like let's say an abundance of bananas. Like they might have a huge pile, monkeys might have a huge pile of bananas, but that's because they're harvesting all of those bananas because they're going to eat all of those. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like you almost have to get into like super abundance, almost like extravagant, like over the top, in order to get comfortable and know that that's even possible. And then you kind of reel it back to just, okay, what do I actually need? What do I actually want? What do I actually desire? I'm allowed to have my wants and my desires too, but what do I actually need? And what is that, And I actually went on this just popped in my head, how I navigated that. This might help somebody, how I navigated to figure out what I actually needed, not just want and desire, is that I went on a money fast for 3 months. And so in my money fast, I did not get anything that I didn't need. Now, if let's say my water filter in my fridge was going out, like obviously that's a need. I'm going to replace that. Like for some reason that was a borderline to me, because I was like, oh, well, I can wait after the 3 months and then replace my water filter. Like I don't need to replace it right now. And then it took me 3 days to decide on this because I'm in the middle of a fast, And so I'm like, I'm not trying to break my fast, but I was like, no, that doesn't really make sense. Like I need filtered water for my body. So we can replace the water filter. But I mean, it was down to every single little thing. Like I didn't buy out food at all. I didn't get massages. And I realized in that, 3 months, once I got a massage it was actually 2 days after my 3-month celebration, I got a massage as of my celebration day. And I realized after my massage, I was like, actually, this is a need. Like this keeps my energy system, the work that I do, this keeps my body healthy. That is actually a need to have at least one massage a month. So basically in doing a money fast for 3 months, 3 months was like what I felt called and what was the sweet spot. I was able to see what is actually a need and what is just a surplus,
Yes. And I love that you call them money fast. And I realized I did that organically without really intending to. And I went through my own money fast last year in February and March and a little bit of April when I moved to Nicaragua. And so it was right after we first met. I was in Costa Rica then, and then I moved to Nicaragua and I moved to a permaculture community where it was almost zero waste. And so the only thing I paid for was the monthly fee of living there, but everything within there was we used from the land. So we had compost toilets, we had outdoor showers, we used a very little bit of toilet paper or a plant to wipe your butt. We used ashes to wash your hands, very minimal plastic, very minimal. I probably consumed 3 plastic things in a month. And through that, I didn't spend any money because I was in the community. We lived off the land. We had the farmers bring food, and we had abundance of permaculture. We had, all different types of greens we picked from the garden for the dinners. And it was going back to the roots of our ancestors. And the ancestors, they've taught us this. It's take what you need and nothing more. And like you said, that nature only takes what it needs, not out of scarcity. Oh my gosh, we're not going to have enough for later. And I went through a very similar process last year, and it was so liberating for me to realize, after that moment, I stopped shaving, I stopped using beauty products, I stopped shopping, I stopped nearly probably 75% decrease in consumption in my life after. And it probably helped. After that, I sold everything back home, and I've only been living off of what I brought in my backpack. And now I buy some more things and I go to secondhand stores for shopping. But after that, my whole life changed because it really showed me what I need, bare minimum. And then after that, like you said, then I get to see, what do I desire? I want a massage. This is really supporting me. Yeah. But no attachment to needing that. It serves me, and I can live in duality, quote unquote duality, and be like, okay, is this necessary? Okay, in one perspective, no. people may judge me and say, oh, I thought that's a waste. But it's like, no, I desire this now. Do I need it? No.
So this is where I get tripped up, okay? Is because I'm so non-judgmental that like I have friends that are literal millionaires and eat out all the fucking time and buy whatever the fuck they want, and it'll end up just sitting in the closet and going on vacations. And I mean very literally doing whatever they want. Like money is nowhere even near their mind of a limitation. Like the press buy button, if something pops in their head, it's like boom, boom, done, you know? And there's part of me, it's more of my sustainability, I think, aspect of my mind that is kind of like, well, that's really not necessary. But then the, like spiritual oneness within me has no judgment of them. Like I really am like, if that is what toots your fucking horn, baby, do it. Like we came into Earth to live, to experience this planet. And if that means that you want to eat out gourmet food all the time, or if that means that you want to take your family on vacation every month, or whatever that means for you, I also don't judge that as well, because we do have infinite abundance. So if that's what you're called towards, that's what you're called towards. You know what I mean?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because like, guys, listen to that. That right there is the gold. And it took me a while, because I realized I had a lot of judgment of what was spiritual and what was not. And so for you to really just be able to naturally embody the acceptance of everything and to really have that inner knowing of oneness, like that's what will naturally like autocorrect, course correct everything that's happening right now. Because individually, as we accept the other and we embody our own internal values, which for you it's a value of sustainability, you don't expect others to do it, it's just what you desire and enjoy doing, others will naturally be attracted to it. But if Brittany was like, oh, you're consuming so much and you're killing the trees and the planet, then that wouldn't motivate them to be like, wait, like maybe I can cut back because like she's doing a cool thing and I want to try it.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm so glad I asked you this question. I asked at the festival, I was talking about abundance with like this little group of people, and I asked them and they didn't even know what to say. They were like, dude, I've never thought about that. I don't even know. But like, thank you so much for your perspective. I really, really appreciate that. Because it is like, judging them would only pull me into separation. Like that it doesn't serve either of us. It doesn't serve any of us.
Yeah. And I can attest that, guys. Like, I just got out of like a dark night of the soul because of my ego with judgment. And it came to my biggest reflection, my mirror, my partner. He's an amazing, like, he's very sustainable in so many ways, but I was like projecting my belief systems and what's good and bad and what's sustainable, what's not sustainable on him, and creating so many judgments. And he's just like trying to enjoy life and go out to eat and do the things he loves to do. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't like that. And he's like, can I just live my life? And I was forced to look at my separation. And if you guys, like, it's very common. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, Brittany has mastered this oneness, like I can share with you, I've been on a very beautiful journey in the last 2 months of clearing my judgment, my pride, and my guilt. Yeah. And majority of the collective, we're going through this process right now where we're being called to look at where we're creating separation. Mm-hmm. And as we do that, it'll also unlock your abundance codes.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just about to say is like money creates so much separation, and that's why it's so important to dive into it and to address it and to heal yourself and heal your relationship, so that way you're not in separation consciousness, so that way you can actually unify and become part of infinite abundance.
Yes.
Like, it's so important, man. It is 5D. Like overcoming money and overcoming this slavery behind, chasing money. that is moving into 5D. That is moving into new earth. And that's why, like, I will be totally honest. I have like a little, like, you know, back of the pocket intention around my course, because whenever everything, you know, was sparking up around the world, around COVID and around BLM and all of these huge world shifts that were happening, moving towards new earth, you know, I was like, I don't feel called towards this. I don't feel called towards this. I don't, like, what do I need to do to help spirit? Like, I need to help. I need to serve. I need to shift really in a big way. And as spirit told me that 2021 was going to be the year that we needed to get our finances together, to drop into financial freedom. And so this course was birthed through me. And I actually, the first time I did it was the very beginning of 2021, February or January or February, something like that. But, and it was because, to me, this is like rebellion against the matrix. Like, this is you, like, they want you to chase money. And so whenever you're liberated from chasing money and your money comes from spirit, then you're no longer a part of their matrix. Their matrix can't fucking manipulate you. It can't control you. It can't do all of this because you're like, I don't need your money anymore. I mean, you use money, but you just get it from the infinite, you know?
Yes. I love this. And I had a similar download like in the beginning of 2021. And it's coming full circle for me. Like, literally, of course, this is divine timing with this call, because just today it was illuminated to me that my clients are seeking more support in this topic specifically.
Yes.
And I just had a long conversation with one of my clients to support her with her abundance blocks. And it's like, she has everything there, but it's like still that fear of, okay, but like I have debt and I'm not having money, and how do I pay for these things? And it's like, okay, how do we rise above these limitations? And that's the financial freedom. And I really, that and unity and partnership and collaboration were the big things coming through for me as well in 2021. So how do we do this together?
Yes, exactly. And one of the main things, and we'll have to wrap up after that, even though this conversation's so good, I don't want to stop. But one of the main things that I teach about, you know, in any time I'm talking about abundance, but very specifically in my course, is that it's moving away, like you're saying, community and working. It's moving away. Scarcity and fear and chasing money is competition, where abundance is cooperation. So it's moving away from competition and into cooperation, cooperating with all things around you. And even if that means giving, if you receive abundance, giving it like along, so that way you're cooperating with the system, or being able to receive abundance, so that way you're cooperating with the system, or whatever it may be, working together, cooperating together instead of competing against each other and trying to rip each other's heads off to get to the top. Whenever that's all an illusion, there is no top. We're all just working, like we are here on earth and working together, helping each other and assisting each other is what's actually going to bring prosperity and fruition and beautiful manifestations into our realities. So I always I hope that you guys can take that is to just remember to move away from competition and into cooperation, from competition into cooperation. Like, just keep repeating that in your head every time you catch yourself competing with someone or competing with anything. How can I cooperate with this that's existing in front of me?
Yeah, because it's me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an illusion that it's not me that I'm looking at. And you're like, but it's someone else. It's Bob. Bob is you.
Oh my goodness. Oh dear, this has been so wonderful. I'm like, oh God, my heart is so full. Thank you so much for coming on. I would love to ask, like, if there was one thing that you could kind of like leave the audience with, you know, whether it be about this topic or just like whatever you feel called to say in this moment. But just kind of leave the audience with to end on, just a little gem that you could gift them.
What's coming to my heart right now to share is my own reminder that this healing inner work does not have to be hard. It's only the illusion we create of it being really hard and scary. So if we choose to really just shift, then it gets to be easy.
Oh my God, this is so on point in my day right now.
Yeah.
Dude, so big. I just had this realization this morning. I was like crying my eyes out. I think it was yesterday. It was today. Or it was yesterday. No, it was last night. I was like crying my eyes out, and I called one of my good friends. And I was like after, by the time I got off the call, I was like, dude, I am making this all so much harder than this has to be.
Yes, I can relate.
Yes.
Post 6 ayahuasca ceremonies, combo plant medicine trips, $10,000 in coaches.
Yes.
And I was still resisting. And I'm like, all I had to do was look at the shadow and realize it's actually just a cute little furry kitten. So, yeah. Sometimes we get amnesia.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. And all of this was wonderful. I'm so grateful to, one, connect with you, and two, to have you on the podcast. This has been such a treat. And also, as far as if anyone wants to get in contact with you or get a hold of you, what's the best way? I'll drop that, whatever the link is, in the show notes.
Yes, thank you. So the main way to contact me is for Instagram at Bekah Komar.
Cool. I'll make sure to drop that in the show notes, guys. So go follow Bekah, check her stuff out. Her energy's super on point, and all of her content it'll always assist you anytime you tap in.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, dear. And we'll connect again. And thank you guys all so much for listening. We appreciate you. We honor you, and just so much love.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and if this was impactful for you at all, please share it with others. This is how we can help each other. Much love and namaste.